Senator John Thune is on the Senate Finance Committee. He joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta.
Should we just forget deadlines? I mean,
it seems the administration has a hard time adhering to any deadlines. We found out this week that they will present the president's budget late for the 4th time now in 5 years. And when they do present it, it's not a serious budget. You know, it's been voted on in the House and the Senate the last couple of years. Both times it got 0 votes in the House and the Senate. No Republican and no Democrat would vote for the president's budget.
In all fairness, I mean, I went back and looked, and it goes back to, I think, LBJ himself and a lot of other presidents on both sides of the aisle didn't get their budgets in on time. But, you know, the problem, the thing that concerns me is that we now know this March 1st deadline is coming up. And I see no indication that the president has been calling Senator Reid or calling Speaker Boehner or actually even moving it until today when he asked to delay it again.
He did. And basically what he's saying is, you know, we don't want these spending cuts to take effect. And what the administration essentially has been saying all along is we don't think that Washington has a spending problem. We believe Washington has a revenue problem. And therefore, all we have to do is raise taxes. Their solution to everything is raise taxes. And that's what they're saying about the sequester. We can replace or delay the sequester simply by getting revenues in the door, and that means taxes.
But this whole sequester thing emerged in August of 2011. And I think the idea of sequestration was from the president. If they didn't have a decision with the super committee by November, that didn't happen. And so the sequestration date was supposed to be January 2013. Then we approach 2013, and nobody's done anything. The president hasn't made sure it got done as the leader, and they push it off to March 1st. And supposedly between January 1 and March 1st, all this stuff was going to get done. Well, zero's gotten done, and the president now comes back and says he wants another delay. And he says today, we can't just cut our way to prosperity. Meaning, who's going to get the taxes this time? He raised it on the rich, so now are the middle class going to get it?
Well, they have to get any serious revenue. The things he's talking about in terms of tax increases are, gee, we'll tax corporate jets and oil and gas. Well, that raises about $3 billion a year. The deficit next year, according to the Congressional Budget Office, is $845 billion. So they have $3 billion in tax increases against a $845 billion deficit. But the point that you make is a good one. The president, and he drove this thing in August of 2011. He wanted the sequester. You read Woodward's book and page 326 or somewhere in there, and these deep cuts in defense, thinking at the time that that would put enough pressure on Republicans to get them to agree to higher taxes. And so now here we are. He wants this thing delayed yet again. But to be fair, there has been a solution put forward. The House of Representatives has not once but twice passed legislation that would replace the sequester and the deep defense cuts which do cause damage to our national security and our readiness, with other cuts elsewhere in the budget, and that's something that's been rejected by the Democrats here on Capitol Hill and by the president.
Well, what I don't get is the gall to come out and ask for another delay. I mean, that's what I don't get. I mean, like, I can't delay showing up for my job, and neither can any American right here. We can't keep asking for these delays, not doing it. And he says the economy is headed in the right direction. Well, maybe it is, but fourth quarter GDP of 2012 was frightful. It was down. It was shrinking, and unemployment has ticked up the month of January.
It's the slowest recovery since the end of World War II. If you look at post-World War II recoveries, previous recessions that we've been through, and the way that we've come out of them, there's been much stronger growth. And I think one of the reasons that we have the slow growth is we've got huge spending and huge amounts of debt, and that is a drag on the economy. I think what a lot of times people don't realize is that when you have this level of debt as a percentage of your GDP or your total economic output, it's costing you jobs. All the research suggests that when you get a debt to GDP level of more than 90%, it costs you 1 point to 1.5 points of economic growth every year, and that's 1 million to 1.5 million jobs in our economy.
I really don't get. I don't mean to put the blame on him, but he is the president. He is the leader. He said he could do the job, but I don't see him burning the midnight oil on this question and hustling up on Capitol Hill and having leaders from Capitol Hill at the White House. I don't see any of that. Instead, I see him going off on other important projects as well. But this is the one that has the March 1st deadline, and this is the deadline he agreed to, he signed off for, and now he's just like pushing it off again.
Well, it's the greatest crisis right now facing the country. I mean, Lord knows we've got lots of big problems, and the world is a dangerous place, as we've been talking about. But if you look at what is the greatest threat to our future right now. It is out of control spending and debt at $16 trillion. The Congressional Budget Office said today that at the end of the decade that we're going to add another $10 trillion to the debt. We are piling more and more debt on future generations. It is costing us and costing our economy jobs and growth, and that's going to lower take-home pay for working-class Americans.
And I'm going to add one last thing. His own people say it's a national security problem, too, as well, the more we sort of kick this one down.
Well, it is, but seriously, it takes presidential leadership to get any of these big things done, and this president on the issue of spending and debt has not wanted to lead, and this is another example of that.
Senator, thank you. Nice to see you, sir.
Thanks, Greta.